John chapter 13. One of the most beautiful chapters in the Bible to me. They're all beautiful, but one of my favorites. It's the night before Jesus Christ was betrayed and crucified. Verse 1. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God, and that he'd returned to God. So he got up from the table, he took off his robe, he wrapped a towel around his waist, and he poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter protested, "you'll never ever wash my feet." Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." Simon Peter exclaimed, "Then wash my hands and head as well, Lord, not just my feet." Jesus replied, "A person who is bathed all over does not need to wash except for the feet to be entirely clean, and you disciples are clean, but not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not every one of them was clean. When he'd finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. And he asked them, "Do you understand what I've done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that's what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I've set you an example that you should do as I've done for you." And again, friend, of course, he's not just saying we should wash each other's feet. He's saying we should serve each other. We should humble ourselves before each other. We should love each other. Verse 16, Jesus went on, "Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you'll be blessed if you do them." Listen to that. You'll be blessed if you humble yourself, if you love others, if you serve other people. You'll be blessed if you do them. Verse 18, I'm not referring to all of you. I know those I have chosen. But this is to fulfill this passage of Scripture. Now he reads a prophecy, or he quotes a prophecy from the Old Testament. This is to fulfill this passage of Scripture. He who shared my bread has turned against me. I'm telling you now before it happens, so that when it does happen, you'll believe that I am who I am. Wow. Or one translation says that I am the Messiah. One says that I am He who I say I am, the Christ, the Anointed One, the Messiah. Very truly I tell you, whoever accepts anyone that I send accepts me, and whoever accepts me accepts the one who sent me. After he had said this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and testified, "Very truly I tell you, one of you is going to betray me." Verse 22, his disciples stared at one another, at a loss to know which of them he meant. One of them, the disciple whom Jesus loved, and by the way, that's John very discreetly or humbly speaking about himself there. One of them, the disciple whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter motioned to this disciple and said, "Ask him which one he means. Who's going to betray you?" Leaning back against Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It's the one to whom I will give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." And then dipping the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. And that's important. Before now, it had said that Satan had put it in his heart to do certain things, but apparently at this time, Judas gave himself completely over to the will of the devil. and Satan entered into him. And so Jesus told him, what you're about to do it quickly. But no one at the meal understood why Jesus said this to him. Since Judas had charge of the money bag, some thought that Jesus was telling him to buy what was needed for the festival or to give something to the poor. But as soon as Judas had taken the bread, he went out, and it was night. And when he was gone, Jesus said, now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will glorify the Son in himself, and he will glorify him at once. My children, I'll be with you only a little longer. You'll look for me, and just as I told the Jews, so I tell you now, where I'm going, you cannot come. And then he says, a new command I give you. Isn't that just like Jesus up to the very end? He's not worried about himself. He's caring about the people just like he does for you today. And he says, a new command I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Simon Peter asked him, Lord, where are you going? Jesus replied, where I'm going you cannot follow now, but you will follow later. Peter asked, Lord, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. Then Jesus answered, will you really lay down your life for me? Very truly I tell you, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. Wow, that's chapter 13. Let's go do chapter 14.